Superintendent, I want to introduce who we have at the table, and we'll kind of get our evening started so we can answer many of the questions that you've all offered to us. Next to me is Brian Schrader, who's the Chief Financial Officer of the diocese. Mary Massengill, who is our communications director, and Mercy Robb, who is our Director of Enrollment and Marketing for the Catholic Schools Office. I'm going to be honest with you. This is a really hard meeting. I know it is for you. It is for me. When I started here in the Diocese of Joliet at the very beginning of the pandemic, this is not anything I ever wanted to do in terms of coming in here and having to talk and make the very hard decisions about closing the school. It hurts me tremendously simply because I've been a member of the Diocese of Joliet for 35 years. My family grew up and attended Catholic schools here. I have 5 kids. They all attended diocesan school. My wife is a teacher in the Diocese of Joliet. My son works at one of the Catholic high schools here. So anything like this is it's a personal decision. And I know that it's you're angry, and you know what? You have every right to be angry, and there's lots of things to be angry for, and I understand that. And I feel awful as being part of the thing that brings you that sense of anger. I know how important Catholic schools are. My kids, all 5 of my kids went to Catholic school. I understand the community. I understand that sense of community and that sense of belonging. And when something like this occurs, I understand how it disrupts things. And I know that causes a lot of pain. For that, I'm extremely sorry for that. In looking at this is a situation that happened very quickly, unfortunately. And so you're all reeling at something that happened very quickly. It's hard, in terms of looking at this. You feel blindsided, I know that, and again, that's not something that I ever intended to have happen with this particular decision. You feel like, that the communication didn't happen as quickly as it needed to. You're right, it didn't happen as quickly as it needed to. And therefore, it causes a lot of pain. And for that, again, I'm extremely sorry. Coming into a situation like this, trying to assess the diocese and trying to look at where we need to sort of improve our abilities. And clearly, we're doing some reorganization at the Catholic Schools Office so that we don't see this ever again. We're instituting a new director position called Director of Operational Vitality so that we can work directly with our parish schools to be able to work on these issues related to finance, budgeting, dealing with grant funding, and also ultimately to deal with communication too, to make sure that people are notified in a very timely way. Again, it's hard to look at all of this because there were a lot of things that were happening all at once. Certainly drop in enrollment didn't help. I'm sorry? Yeah, I think somebody is recording. Oh, okay.
No, that's the camera.
No, thank you for asking the question. Some of the issues, related to, the
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Somebody just walked in. Do you want me to some budgetary issues that really are sort of outlined in the letter. Drop in enrollment is another area and so we'll talk about some of that momentarily. And then additionally, the just the infrastructure of the school is older and really requires a lot of support in order to make it a viable thing. So for all these different reasons all happening at once, it's really caused a decision that the school has to be closed. And again, that causes great pain. I know for you it causes great pain for me, because again, this is not something that I expect to do, is to come here and do something like this. My position moving forward is that we've got to find other ways. We're trying to do some reorganization of the Catholic schools office. Again, this is not even the second year in the middle of the pandemic, trying to make some of these changes that we need to happen so that we can avoid these things from occurring again. We're going to just sort of kind of move what we've done is we've analyzed all of the questions that you've all kind of submitted to Sister, and we sort of clustered some of those together so that we can be able to answer that. So I'll have some of the panelists to be able to answer some of the questions. So Ryan, I'm turning it over to you first.
I have a question. What is going to be the process for today? Because I would love to make a statement, right? I know you guys have questions, but I would like that we also have time to question.
Sure. Let us go through the printed questions that we received first, and then we'll have some time.
No, you know what? I think we should have taken from the parent first.
Yes.
You guys have been doing a
Let us
lot
talk
of
first.
meeting, so it's time for us to talk.
Correct.
Instead of you always talking.
Let me
Time for us to do
say something first. I'm going to read out the bulletin from Sunday. You guys are talking about Catholic schools?
I know.
The Sacred Congregation of Catholic Education of Vatican, the Catholic school. The Church is absolutely convinced that the educational aims of the Catholic school in the world today perform an essential and unique service for the Church itself. And it is a fact, though, that the school that it participates in a dialogue culture and its own positive contribution to the cause of the total formation of man. The absence of Catholic school would be a great loss for civilization and for the natural and supernatural destiny of man. You guys where these guys all go to public school? You're talking about indoctrination. This is the only place they decide what things those nuns are saints. You want them to go to a public school run by this government? You want them to be taught by Christ, not by heathens. Thank you very much.
I think that it's more than to say that you guys lack leadership, you guys lack communication, right? You made a decision without consulting with us, because that was one of the rules that you guys needed to follow. At least that's what we deserve. You have treated us like caca, like shit, okay? And I just want to put it like that. Don't come and tell me that enrollment. Yes, we know enrollment dropped. Just seem to forget that there were limits during COVID. We couldn't put 50 kids in the classroom, right? You seem to forget that. Another for students, you forgot that during the summer months, we get more people in there. There are other schools in the diocese that have less kids than this school. But you choose St Dominic. Why do you have against us? Why? Let me keep going. Timing of the announcement. Baby feeding, $30,000 on Saturday, on Tuesday, boom, and yank it out. That is very Christian. Don't come here and bring me the word of God, because I have my relationship with God. You guys are the Catholics for something. And yes, I am the one that is pushing for our peace, because what you have done has no name. So don't come here and tell me about the timing of the closing. You guys have been working on this behind our backs to make a decision that way. So only when you make a decision on Tuesday and force sister to sign the letter, you come here and talk to us. You don't go and hide under your desk. I have 60 kids at the diocese office on Friday. We have to wait 10 minutes until the building manager came and took the letters. You probably threw them for
mother?
the current principal. My goodness, there is no principal who have to close the school, really. How many schools start in August with no principal? How many? A lot of them. That is no reason to close the school. Within the Catholic diocese and within the public schools, there is a lot of schools that start without principal. Okay? So don't use that as an excuse. Building. We know that was a big one. But guess what? You guys know about the buildings since 2002. 20 years. 20 years. 2 decades. You guys sat on it. You could have done something then. But you didn't. You are, at the end, you guys are irresponsible. You lack leadership. You lack communication. And you are everything that we shouldn't have in the diocese. You screw up our kids' life. You screw up the door. So think about this. What side do you want to be? I want to be dying today, knowing that I have been fighting for all these families and all these kids, than die and didn't do anything. What side are you going to be? Of course, the side that didn't do anything, except charting the dreams of our children. Do you want me to have empathy for you? I am going to show you the same empathy you show us.
Can you hear me without the microphone? No. I'm trying to get it turned on.
What do you expect me to run a microphone to run the diet? Where's the bishop, by the way? The bishop should be here. Personally, seriously.
The bishop's doing confirmations currently.
Well, I'm sure you can find one of his lower guys to do confirmation. He should be here. Seriously. You guys remind me of Joe Biden. He sends all of his cronies and he just sits in the White House and does nothing. Or goes to wherever he goes. Delaware. You people got no freaking guts.
You know what? One of the things that you said in your prepared speech, which by the way was correct, for you to come here with a typed speech with your agenda, without even, you guys put in your letter, this has been happening for 2 years. What the hell happened in the last 2 years? COVID. And if this is a problem for 2 years, why the hell did you not tell us 2 years ago? That is a big thing. You claim you have a right in the Diocese Church of Catholic School. I don't talk to her, first of all. Because she tried to work and found out 2 hours before the family found out she was losing her job. That's bull. Total bull. We had to deal with COVID. We had to deal with families dying. We couldn't go to church for 2 years.
Where was the diocese on that?
And when finally our kids finally had a good year to be together, you ripped them up. We're not even a good month, not even a month, 3 fucking weeks. 3 weeks. And don't give me that bullshit that you had this in the work. You could have given them at least January. You could have given us a town hall told us that this school is in trouble. I grew up in a Catholic school. My husband grew up in a Catholic school, and I never once have seen devils like you. With your life, your office stopped picking up my call. You know that? Oh, yeah, you know that. Because you guys got bullshit automated message first. The fact that you had people and kids turned away from your door. You turned kids away from your door. Understand that? That kind of protest are peaceful protests and turn kids away. And don't you fucking deny that shit either. We have had to deal with COVID. We have had to deal with our kids doing remote learning. We have had to deal with nothing but roadblock after roadblock. But this family of St. Dominic have 6 months. We had 6 months. It's gonna close at the end of the year if we don't have this goal. No one told us that there was a goal or a mandate of a requirement of 170 or whatever that number is. No one told us that. You told us that. And in your own bullshit letter, it's been happening for 2 years. So why have you not told us 2 years ago? Why?
Christina, I'm just gonna stand up. I know everybody's emotions are heated and everybody's angry and everything. We're here, we're expressing our anger about the kids, right? There's a bunch of little kids sitting here, so I think we just need to watch our language and be respectful. We can express our anger and we're worried about the kids and there's a lot of them sitting here. So if we could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Here's the thing. You walk in the sister's office. Here's the thing. You walk in the sister's office. You told her you would close the school, and then you turned around and walked out before her jaw could even get off the floor. Then on Friday, we received an email where Sister clearly wrote the first 2 paragraphs trying to soften the blow and show compassion. And the rest was your all's press release. It was the exact same press release that you all put on the diocesan website. And then we heard nothing. Nothing from you, nothing from the bishop. Not 1 inch of compassion for what you all did to us. It was like, you know, the bishop is our shepherd. He's responsible for every soul in this diocese. And our shepherd threw us out of the pasture and told us to us. You all did not provide any information about the Catholic schools around us. We were all left wondering, what do we do now? We just lost our community, and now we have to scramble to find schools for our kids. We don't know about tuition. We're all afraid. We're calling every principal. When you all have this information that you all could have provided. And the only reason I think we got the letter that Thursday, which we should have been the letter we got the first time, was because of how much pressure people like Iris was putting in the media. Because otherwise, I don't think we would have ever gotten a detailed letter. I don't think we would have ever gotten 1 little inch of compassion for what we've been put through. And that's what it is first for some of us. This is my family. I have no family up here. This is my family. But what hurts even worse is now I don't feel like I can trust my bishop because he is controlling. That's why I said to the court. For the past 2 weeks, I said, my faith is in Jesus Christ and the Eucharist, not in bishops or priests. It's in Jesus and the Eucharist. Because clearly I can't trust my bishop to look out for my soul because he's turned his back on us. And it's like we've learned nothing from all the Catholic sex abuse meetings. It's not just the abuse that got everyone, it was the cover-ups and the lies and the lack of transparency. In this school, we teach our kids to take accountability for their choices. And when you have to make a hard choice, yes, if you have to close a Catholic school, it's a horrible choice to have to make. And there may be reasons and you have to make it. But when you do that, you stand up and you own it and say, this is the decision we had to make. And I'm sorry I hurt you with that decision. You don't hide in your offices and blow us off and pretend that the decision is clear. It's twisted accountability. And how are we supposed to ever trust the diocesan school again? If you would pull the rug out from us, who's to say you can't pull the rug out of St. Scholastica, or St. Andrews, or St. Joseph? And so now we're all trying to figure out where we go, where do we put our kids? Where can we find anyone close to what they had here? And that's what hurts the worst. It's not just about the school and losing our family. It's about losing our faith. And you all got a lot of work to do to make up for that.
I will absolutely admit our communication was wrong. And we made the wrong, I mean, and we obviously irritated people. I know that.
How are you going to fix it? How are you going to fix it?
Beyond irritated.
So
I agree.
why can't you answer your Hey, woman, stop writing and listen. How about you listen?
Let me tell you
No,
something.
you put your hand on, you listen on.
What happened? You guys told
Hey, how long does it take when you're going to close the church? Because that's going to happen too. You know how many people you're losing in the Catholic Church? If it wasn't for the Virgin Mary, I wouldn't be a Catholic. But Jesus Christ is everywhere. But the Virgin Mary keeps me Catholic. You're going to lose all that. That church is going to close. Don't you understand it?
You don't care.
But you don't care. No, you don't care. It's all freaking money, you people.
We have two donors that call and say, how much money do you need to keep the school open? Why do you
Turn them away, so it ain't money. It ain't money.
And there are 60 numbers. Why do you turn them away? How much money have you? Why?
Why did you say that? Why did you not?
We did, after seeing the social media, look for what those were, and we did find one in Bishop St Dominic that asked, how much would it take? Did not say, I have it or will fund it. Did ask how much. So I don't know who Lydia is the donor. I think the sister did.
Did you answer? Did you answer?
I don't think an answer was
No,
because this is a one-time problem, right? The roof is leaking, a donation to fix the roof fixes the roof. Enrollment, a trending enrollment has lost 44% of its enrollment.
The roof was replaced out there. Yeah, I was going to say, the roof is new. That's a new roof. You're right, that's right. I was here, I saw it. The roof is new. The roof is new. It was impressed, yes, it was fixed.
2002, you guys knew the problem of the building. 2002. 2022, that's 20 years. What happened?
I guess I'm looking for what, so the building is a part of the parish. Just as now the school is closed, the building remains parish property, will be used for RE, will be used for parish programs. But as
So you have prayed for this place. I am asking about the building. I am asking why you didn't take action in 2002 to correct the problems with the building.
working on that, we bring that to the parish's attention, and the parish actually builds their buildings, maintains their buildings, fundraises for that. It's not the diocese that raises the money, that fixes the roof, that pays the parking lot.
But you're keeping that building open, meaning you're gonna pay for the repairs. to
Anyway.
keep it open anyways.
We have a statement because the only time you guys answered was to go to the end. And I specifically asked the question, yes, I am enemy number one. The first time I asked the question was, did you sell the building? The answer was, the building will be used for religious and by the way, the daily requirement or quick whatever happened. And we're going to use it for other ministries. So you already have plans for the building. So are they in room or you're going to use it? I mean, come on. You decided that there was a problem with the building last week.
The building is already being used, if I believe, for religious ed, right, in the evening. That's how it will continue to be used. That's what goes on in the building, is that way. There are some things with the building, the school not being there, the mobile units at the end of their life probably won't need to be fixed. You won't need to maintain those because there'll be less capacity needs. So yes, it doesn't stop a roof from leaking. I don't know if this one actually has a leaking roof. I know the church, I think, has some roof issues.
Yeah, the church.
Yes. The church and the school have to be run. A parish community.
We have two parishes that support the school, am I correct?
Correct.
And nobody knew at each parish, each individual. And I don't know how you calculate costs, but if this school closes, the diocese won't get a penny for most of us.
I'm already gone. I am gone.
Because how are we going to trust you with our funds for the parish when this happened to our school? We can't trust you with any of our money because we would have given a lot more had we known, and we would not be sitting in this position. We didn't even give us an opportunity if we had known it was enrollment. What was the difference that needs to be made? We didn't give us an opportunity to try and say, hey, let's keep the school open. Tuition per child will have to be this. Nothing.
Oh, Julie, you have to press your card. So you turn us on. Do you see the green light?
Yeah, you guys got a lot of people in the audience that have their
want to make sure everybody gets heard.
Absolutely.
I'm Patricia, my child is in 4th grade. And I remember the first time we came here, that lady right there, sister. She was out there, I was very nervous, not knowing what to do. She welcomed my child. As soon as he walked into school, he had a family. My family is in Africa and in Europe. I don't have anybody to help me. These mothers right here, they help me my child. When they're picking him up at school, they're picking him up. When I cannot drop him, even the teacher, they will come to my house, pick up my child, and bring my child to school. You guys gave us no warnings. And do you guys know the emotional that you are putting our children to? All of us here probably went to Catholic school. I didn't Catholic since I was a child. I even went to a Catholic college at St Benedict University. You guys are playing with our faith. We don't want to bring any dime to the Diocese of Joliet at all. Because you guys don't care. You guys, we are numbers. We are numbers, not a family. Look at this audience. We are all mixed. All races are here. Because we're family. Not a number that you guys see on your papers. We are more than papers. You cannot come here and close the school at a Friday night when our kids are supposed to have family time, enjoy family time. We went home depressed, crying, mothers crying, not knowing what to tell our children, and you guys are coming here with your suits, trying to tell us what to do. We're emotional. I understand. No, you don't understand. You guys need to reverse your decision. Give us time to raise money for our school. This is not a school. It's a family. You talked about the protocol being 30 years old. Our kids were there 6 years ago. So why didn't you guys think about replacing that protocol 30 years ago? So that means you guys put our children at risk. You put them at risk being in that building. And sitting here telling us about that, so what if all of us here end up suing you guys for putting our children in a building that you feel that's not supposed to have children in? That's not fair. That's not fair. And then, just like I said, you guys, if you are going to close the school, give us time, and we don't have to go to St. Andrew or St. Scholastica trying to find how we're going to put our kids in school. That's not our job. They won't have busing. They won't have some of their friends there. They're family. They won't have them. My kids, my child plays soccer. His classmates are his friends. They see each other at school, they see each other at home, and soccer practice. So what's going to happen to that? Do you guys think about that? You think about busing, the price that we have to pay for tuition over there? We're not thinking about that. You're coming here criticizing us and telling us what to do. We're not going to listen. We want you guys to reverse your decision, give us time to raise money, and that's the kind of thing to do. That's why a Christian thing to do. Don't come here and tell us what to do. We're not going to listen. Woo!
I don't have anything like that prepared. I think you guys are going to get to the questions eventually. I know everybody's really voicing, and I think it's important they need to get it out. But I'm trying to move forward with this information, and it's confusing to me because I've heard a lot of things mentioned tonight, and I've seen things in the emails about the condition of the building and the enrollment, and I just don't understand why some of the schools that we have been asked to consider and that we've all visited this past week for open houses seem to have worse conditions in some cases. I'm not saying this to get in the crowd. We really want to understand your reasoning. Like, we have visited schools that don't even have gyms, and some of the no playgrounds, the bathrooms are atrocious. I mean, and we just really cannot understand. I understand that to some extent you know, you have to make these decisions, and this is a learning opportunity for you guys. You're obviously taking all of this feedback, and you're trying to move forward with hiring a new position. I think you said director of vitality. Obviously, that person would address some of these things, and I think it feels really unfair to us that like this is the school that is teaching you that lesson. We can't really understand why some of the other schools with lower enrollment and worse conditions, like why are those not being considered? Or if there was any sort of thought put into consolidating, it's just why were the families not notified about this? Like why weren't, and I'm speaking as both a parent and a staff member because I work here, and I mean, it's just really confusing. More confusing as a staff member, to be honest. So I'm going to give the microphone back so they can maybe answer some of those questions. Because I don't see anybody else waiting in line, and I don't see any hands up.
I have a question. The way I see those guys, they think they own this place. They think they own the priorities. I don't know what they mean. Catholic means universal. Okay, so we are the church. We pay you salary. Okay, we pay you salary. I don't know when you get the funds. Do you know when you get the funds to get the check? Who pays for the check? Yeah, the church. So you think you own the church. That's the way I see it. You think you own this place. That's the way I see it. Why can't I fire you, get rid of you, get somebody else, and keep the school open? Because you own this place. That's what you think.
Obviously, can't be your job, so why are you here?
I can't do his job either. He's still.
Again, I know it's really, I know, again, there's a lot of feeling, very strong feeling, and we're trying to listen to all of that. I'm wondering if it's okay if we can start answering some of the questions that were issued. Is that all right?
Yes, please start with one with you're directed to schools that are lower enrollment and lesser standards.
I'm sorry, can you say it loud?
I'm saying, can you answer the question about the schools and why this one versus some of the ones with lesser?
Yeah. So St. Dominic's right now is the only school that's closing this year. St. Irene's closed last year.
Hold on. Hey.
It leads to what leads that some schools stay open and others close. Right? So it isn't just Dominic's that closed. This year it is, but we saw Irene's last year and 3 the year before. Some with lower enrollment, some with higher enrollment.
Focusing mainly here.
So now the things that
passed. We're directed to Romeoville, which has less than 100 kids. Mm-hmm. And no gym, no outside, no playground.
Yeah, certainly Romeoville is one of the options to be looked at.
I'm saying, why is St. Dominic's closed?
And so there are the easy metrics to look at, right? Enrollment. We talk enrollment, so that's just one of them. Another one is how much of the operating funds of a school needs to be subsidized. So how much can the school sustain itself? How much does it need to get from the sponsoring parish or through fundraisers? And then the other component to that is how much can the parish who's subsidizing that school afford to subsidize to?
Do you have those numbers?
There isn't a number that keeps it open for next year that is similar to. There isn't a number that keeps it open for next year.
It's a simple question. Hold on. Give it a chance to answer. It's a simple question. You said how much this is. Basically, you said how much the decisions versus other schools. What were the numbers that caused St. Dominic's to be so in the red that was the school chosen to be closed versus some of the other schools?
So as you look at, that kind of goes to how much support can the supporting parishes give.
Correct.
Right, so when you look at, I think we referenced the one with 99 kids. We met with the parish here in October and talked numbers. We met with him in October. And we did meet with the pastor, with the principal, with the business manager, and other men. It would have been Father Connolly as administrator at that point.
One never came back.
He's here actually right now tonight supporting your community. It's enrollment that drives the ability. It's an ongoing. Yeah. So, yeah, in that parish, that pastor understood that he could be spending up to $600,000 next year versus a 200 that this parish goes. He has that money, is willing to spend it, and will make his decision going forward. So he has the ongoing ability to fund a greater amount because of how much comes through his parish. You've got a parish that's very well supported, a passionate community here in St. Dominic's, but it's a relatively small parish for trying to subsidize a school.
We have two parishes. We don't have one.
Excuse me? Sorry.
St. Francis is $8,000 a month. That subsidizes St. Francis, and then St. Dominic on top of that.
Yes. So there's a subsidy budget of $214,000 for the two schools combined, for the two parishes combined.
Why do we need 3 priests in our church? It is a small church, and I'm assuming they get salary, right? And the school is closing, so that means there's one less mass event to do every week, right? And around those three priests and around the masses, which other churches only have 1 priest and they do the same amount of masses. You want to buy half 3 priests, you don't need 3 priests, okay? Because you don't have the school anymore. Nobody's planning on teaching the kids anything, okay? By the end of the day, Saturday day, the priests, they don't walk through the classes, that's a lot right there. You don't need money invested on that. If you're telling us it's the problem of the church because we don't get that money from the church, then it's our pastor here, Judas. He can't get every Sunday to collect more, and he's not doing this job. It's not our job to do this job and get that money from other families. You know how many families that are leaving? Mine is one of them. We're gone. And I'm just one, okay? And there's a lot more, okay? So we're gonna have more money, and you're gonna have to close the church, so you're gonna close it and close it all.
So you guys talked about low enrollment and finances and things like that. For the past 2 years, we had COVID. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people were homeless, okay? People couldn't even leave to go to the store. Like, there were numbers, let's take a number outside. We're just recovering from COVID. People are just getting back on their feet. You talk about low enrollment, guess what? They don't have the money right now. We need time to recover. Before you made that decision, you should have taken that into account. We have about 2 or 3 years before you start to talk about low enrollment. You expect that right now. Because, like I said, a lot of people are just getting jobs right now. We're just getting back on our feet. So how do you talk about low numbers and finances? Why would you just give that as a reason to shut down the school? I don't understand this. Did you think about that when you were factoring in closing the school? That the whole world is affected by COVID, okay? Like I said, every time I walk in the streets, people homeless and begging. They're now able to get jobs finally, slowly getting back on their feet, slowly getting back to normal. You should maybe give us a year to try to see how the enrollment numbers come up. Talk about low enrollment. To me, that also like a load of crap.
We're talking about the capacity of the CDC guidance of how many students you can have in a certain room. So that's why I believe that the reason why the low enrollment or the reason why people that were trying to get into school and put in a waiting list to get a spot, to get a chair for a child during COVID. Because of the CDC guidelines, it was really hard for even not just this place here, but other schools had their CDC guidelines that had a very low classroom. Even public schools were like that as well during COVID. Now I think it's time for the community to continue and support
save this. And there are people that have money that want to save this, and they want to represent the Catholic faith in a good place and pass it on to others.
Mr. Schrader, I want to go back to what you were talking about. So I would like for you to explain to us what your key performance indicators are, what your metrics are, and when those metrics come together, when the decision is made. I think it's important for us as a community to understand what you were looking at, because you said $600,000, but we don't know, depending on the size of the school, that's a percentage. So is it that when a parish has to support the school more than 30%, then it moves into red? Or is it that because we are different sizes, we have a school that has 160 students, we have schools that have 300 and 400 and 500. So I think what I personally am looking for, and I think what would be beneficial for the rest of our community, is to understand key performance indicators, understand metrics, understand what your standard operating procedures are when you see those metrics. Well, how do you move us from one level to another? And when do you communicate that? Initially to the administrators and eventually to the community. That would be so helpful to me, because that's so my main question after that is, what was the tipping point? At which point did you look at the data and say, this school cannot move in to the year 2022, 2023? Because you have the trend, and trend says to me that you have that over time. So a trend doesn't happen overnight. A trend builds itself as an aggregate. So when you're thinking about a trend, what I need to understand, just for my benefit, is at which point it became a tipping point. When did you say, this is halt, this is not going to happen? And why, as the trend was occurring, the community was not informed? Because some of us are not able to I have 4 children, 3 of them graduated from here. I have a little one that I don't have a Catholic school to send to. And one last question, since I have the microphone, is if St. Dominic School were to be closed, what are the plans in the future to have an academic Catholic presence in the village of Bolingbrook, which has 2 Catholic parishes and a population of about 74,000. So are we out of Bolingbrook? Are we always going to have to go somewhere else? What is going to be the academic Catholic presence in Bolingbrook? What are we going to do about that? I'm sorry, I just want to add to what you were saying, that those are really the questions that we need answered, because we're all having a really hard time choosing or deciding to send our kids to another Catholic school. Like, we just don't understand how this happened, so we don't know that it's not going to happen to the next school, and we'd hate for our kids to be impacted by another closure like this. So I think that I just can't stress enough that those are the questions that we really need to have answered tonight. And I'm also a data person like Lisa, and I think a lot of us are, we just really need to understand those figures. So I see that you have some visualizations there. I would ask if that's something that you can share with us electronically, because there's a lot of people who aren't here tonight. And that's a lot of information that I think we need to digest. And if there's some way to share that electronically, I think that would be really helpful too.
I am very conflicted, but I think there are a few things that I think perhaps I might be able to explain that might in a way diffuse some of the anger. I do have a problem with how the diocese went about this, to be very honest. When I came in July, I was named administrator of this parish. And I was already told by someone in the diocese St. Dominic's, the only thing that saved the parish is PPP. The only thing that saved the parish was PPP. I hate that term, but anyway. I then the government. Okay. That paid salaries, that kept everything going. Okay. One of the things that I did try to begin to do is look at the infrastructure. And the infrastructure here has not been addressed. The diocese did a study, very good study, of the infrastructure. And unfortunately, it went in the fire. I began to address that. And I formed a committee that went around and went to all the buildings. I could tell you right now, quite honestly, we could spend easily $2 million addressing what needs to be done to the infrastructure of this parish. That's not good. It's a reality. It's a reality. I then asked the Chancellor and the Vicar for Clergy, we could have a meeting, which we did have in October. And that meeting was with Dr. Boyle, Brian, sister, myself, finance, Father Nestor was there, to look at, one, we need to make a decision. And I know it's not easy. But what has been done over the years is kicking the can down the road. There has been, unfortunately, a lack of transparency. That is not only on the part of the diocese, but also here. We began to deal with some of this. And at that meeting, we talked about the reality. At that time, I suggested that I said, I really think we need to make a decision by January. Where do we go? And the group decided, no, let's wait till June and see what happens. There were certain promises made that were not fulfilled on the part of the diocese. But nonetheless, I mean, we have to look at the reality. Okay? The history of this is part of the problem, and this has been my argument for a long time. The haves get, and the have-nots don't. When I was a diocesan director in meetings, you look at our diocese, okay, places like Hinsdale, Elmhurst, Glen Ellen, they don't have these problems. You go to their schools and they have all the technology. Would you let me finish? Would you let me finish? But we need to look at that. And I think that's one of my challenges to the bishop, to the diocese. In paragraph 200 of Pope Francis' Exhortation, the joy of the gospel, he talks about it very realistically. And he laments the fact that very often the poor get only the scraps. And I think that is a problem. It's a systemic problem. I think this embodies that problem. Okay? For example, pardon?
So people go there for vacations, right? All vacations only come from rich families, it's only made.
Well, I didn't come from a rich family. Many of our vocations do not come from rich families. I worked in the barrios in Mexico. I know about working with the poor, but I'm saying is we need to look at this. We need to take a long, hard look. Yes, this building, I could spend easily, the roof. These are things that were not done. This is part of kicking it down the road. We have begun to address some of those issues. But I could spend right now, the roof here, $100,000. The updating the computer system or whatever system, that's another thing. In other words, there's a lot of expenses. Now, we don't have the resources. We don't have the resources. One of the things that came out of the meeting in October, which I discovered, that the diocese had offered a way of excusing the debt of the parish. At that time, when I came here, we had a $100,000 debt. The diocese had talked to the former business manager and to Father Franklin and offered them, if you do a stewardship drive, we will forgive the debt. I was shocked when I found out that they turned it down. And Brian knows I went after it. And we got the debt forgiven. Okay, these are the kind of things. There's been a lot of things that haven't gone on correctly. There's a lot of blame to go around. And I think, we need to sit back. We are a church. Right now, some of this church is broken. And yet there's anger, but you know what? We have to think, where is Christ leading us? Where is the Spirit leading us? Pentecost is about it. Now, I can fault. I had a few strong words about Dr. Boyle. I had a conversation, I'm going to be very blunt, with our bishop. When he came for confirmation in September, it was a weeknight, I think it was a school confirmation there, but I said, did you confirm or deny it? Well, then they were validly confirmed. They were confirmed by me. Okay. Anyway, when he came for confirmation, I said, Bishop, afterwards, could we meet for a little while in the directory? Because I have some real concerns about St. Dominic's. And he said, I have a meeting afterwards. And this is, could we please listen? Listen. That's the other thing we all need to do. He said, I'm give you, let's talk, let's go in the parking lot and take a walk for 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, we can't talk about everything. I fault him that he didn't say, you know what, make an appointment, I'd like to pursue this. He didn't. Bishop came here on Easter. He came for the Spanish Mass at 11 o'clock. And I corralled him again. In the sacristy. We closed the door. And we had a little chit-chat. He informed me that there was a meeting that had taken place prior to Holy Week or prior to. He didn't tell me what exactly was decided. He did say that he felt blindsided by the National Dominicans and by Sister Maria Isaac. Because Sister was going to be leaving. Well, you know what? That's not fair. Because if anybody has been blindsided, it is not the bishop, it's this parish. And how this was handled. I'm embarrassed, but the night before Dr. Boyle came to inform Sister that the school had closed, we had a school board meeting. Sister and I probably looked like two fools. Two fools. So there are things, yes, that we can be angry about, but I think, sometimes when people come to confession and they get done giving me their grocery list, I ask them, now what have you learned from this? What have we learned? Not to be bitter. Not to say, the church is more than the bishop, more than me, more than these people. The church is the body of Christ. Yeah, I can withhold my money. I give every year almost $3,000 to the diocesan appeal. I practice stewardship in this parish. And there's part of me that said, screw this. I won't give any more to the diocesan appeal. But you know what? That's not right. There are so many things that would not happen if we did not have those resources. I know this is a difficult and painful time. On First Communions, when we had First Communion, I talked about it. I said every seminary I ever attended, it closed. The school I taught at many moons ago, before most of you were born, in Elmhurst, it closed. Catholic school. I was a pastor of St. Mary's in West Chicago. And the year after I left, that school closed. Now I'll tell you that, like with that school, I'll tell you exactly why that closed. Because the school board was always looking to all the other parishes. It never looked at our parish. Because we were mainly Hispanic. And I said, you know what? That's the future. They didn't see it. And it closed. I know what closing things is like. I, as a priest, have seen at one time in this diocese, we have umpteen seminaries. I look at the Benedictine Abbey. It's an old people's home. I remember when there were about 130 monks. Now there are less than 28. I grieve. I grieve very much because I see things happening. And yes, it's easy, where are you, God? Where are you? But you know what? Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place. I think, and I would challenge all of you, turn your anger, but make it positive. We're not going to, the school's closed. We might as well all face that fact. Whether I like it or not, it's happening. Whether it's justified or not, I didn't make the decision, it's made. But now the important part here is, okay, I've gotten over my anger. Now how can I move on? How can I create a new day?
Father, can I say something? It's easy for you to say,
it is?
I don't know how are you.
Why is it easy for me to say?
Yes, because I have my kid. See, this is a life-changing
I understand.
No, everybody says they understand. No, I understand.
No, wait a minute. You are saying I don't understand. You are accusing me of the very thing you're doing.
But you are my priest.
I'm human.
You're supposed to be looking after us.
I'm human. We are looking after you. This is what I'm trying to explain. I don't agree with how the diocese went about this.
They should do the possible to keep it open, not just an number.
One of the things that bothers me, I'll be very honest, in this meeting, we really should have had a model, because some of the language has been inexcusable. We are Christians. We are Catholics. We need to learn how to speak with respect.
We deserve that respect.
Okay, I agree. I agree. But that doesn't excuse us being disrespectful and yelling. I saw a sign the first day you were protesting of a child carrying a poster calling the bishop Judas.
Yes.
That is not appropriate. Besides which, that doesn't solve anything. I saw it on the news. And what I'm saying is that's not appropriate. We need to deal with the facts. Because one of the things, okay, if you will listen, if you will let me finish. I'm not in agreement with you because one of the things that was said was we will keep this between ourselves. So therefore, we were not free to go for when I had the meetings of the financial board, the parish council, or the school board. We were not free to say this. That put me in a very awkward space. And I don't deny the fact. And I think maybe if we had done this in October, maybe things could be different. But the reality is we didn't, and now we have to move on. I understand the anger. And you know, I may be a priest. I come from a family. I also hurt. I know what a Catholic education means. I grew up in Catholic schools. But we need to go back, and as I say, I think part of it, which I would challenge dioceses and also the school board, go back and look up paragraph 200. Let's think about this. Maybe I think one of the things that I've argued for a long time, the day of parish schools has gone. They don't work. They don't. Now, that means maybe we need to go back to the drawing board. There was a marvelous issue in American Magazine on this some years ago. Some dioceses are doing this very creative. There are ways. The difficulty is, right now, we're operating out of a mode that doesn't work. Especially because in a poor parish, you know what? You don't get it. And somehow we have to turn this around. We're going to do that overnight? No. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take working through this, mourning and grieving. And I understand. We're grieving. You're grieving. And part of grief is anger. Part of grief is denial. Part of grief is finally that we may come to acceptance and move on. But we might be able to say, you know, okay, this didn't work. I've been told, my ministry, I was director of Hispanic ministry for 12 years. Most of my ministry has been in the Hispanic community. I know that if you think out of the box, things can happen. I had things times. When I started community here 30 years ago, the Hispanic community, we got on Saturday night maybe 50 people. People would say, you know, why are you doing this? I can go elsewhere. But I'm stubborn and I'm Irish. When I started in Bloomingdale, we got 30 on a night, on a Saturday night, we sang the Alleluia chorus. We did things, and we made things happen. It wasn't easy, but we did it. We did it. You know, I'm going to end this, and you could go on. I'm sorry for taking so much time. One of my heroes is the former deceased Archbishop of Recife in Brazil, one of the poorest dioceses in Latin America. And I remember some years ago at a conference, the Eucharistic Congress 1976, he said something that has become the model for modern ministry. He said, you know, if I dream alone, my dream remains a dream. But if we dream together, we can make the dream a reality. We can all sit and stew in our anger, but maybe we need to dream. Maybe we need to dream, and out of that dream, and I invite everybody to be part of this dream, including the bishop. And I wish.
Why we cannot dream and keep the school open?
Pardon?
Why we will not get
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we get beyond?
Let's dream that.
Yeah. Okay, can we get beyond one thing? That's not going to happen. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, would you listen? That's not going to Okay. Would you come up with about $1 million? I can, you know what, I'm just wasting my time and I'm trying to explain things because some of you are still very Wait a minute. Nobody robs me of anything.
We got robbed of the opportunity to save the school. And do not tell me there is no $3 because the Catholic Church is the richest church in the world.
That's wrong.
That's not wrong.
Yes, it is. I'm good. All over, look at our bills.
It has nothing to do with individual parishes.
Anyway,
It's the church.
Father, can I ask you, what has all this today? As a parish, now, what if I was aware of what situation we are financially? Why are you telling us this now? This is our time to ask these people here to tell us how we can deal with the situation. We like a solution. We don't want the school to close.
Oh, okay.
You should have told us all this.
So if we look at what were those warning signs, right?
Yes, but here's my first question to you. If you have warning signs, why have you not communicated to the parents who are here? You did not do that. You did not tell us we are in dire straits. We come here, this is like our parish family. I had my niece study here. I don't have a child here right now, but it's breaking my heart to see this whole thing going on. People crying nuts. I as an adult and I'm having nightmares. Would you believe that? I can't imagine what these parents are going through, what their children are going through. Father is giving us all this long talk right now. He should have brought this up to the parents. Hey, we are going to be closing if we don't have this enrollment. We would have worked ourselves and got everything done. We have put this when St. Dominic was struggling. Everybody got together and got money together. So we can do it, and I don't believe you should close the school. My intention to come here to make change of this decision. And the bishop has done as a Christian. I mean, to me, I agree with everybody. I will not give a penny to that. I don't care what Father tells me. Because you guys have let us down. And my faith is shaking here. This is shameful. I mean, I can't imagine when Catholic education is so important in today's day and time. Just look outside what's happening. People are talking about pro-choice and everything.
I have a couple questions. First, I would like to hear you guys answer Lisa Durrell's question about the metrics. Father Bill has done a nice job trying to defer from that question. But St. Joseph's was an embarrassment to the parish and what happened there in that court. But they have 99 students and they're still open. So they must have these incredible metrics, even though they lost 3/4 of their staff, including friends of mine who were teachers there, who were absolutely appalled at what went on there. So that is the first question is, let's address the metrics. The fact, I thought canon law required transparency. Everything since Sarbanes-Oxley requires transparency when it comes to financials. So why were all these backdoor meetings with Father Bill and not with the board and not with people who should have been there? Who did those? Where are the minutes? And why were they done behind closed doors? Because that is, to me, a very clear reason why none of us trust you guys at this point. You have lied once, we are not going to question all the truths. And Dr. Boyle, you, as an educator who has written about children's mental health and advocated, this couldn't have been handled any poorly. You have no plan for my son, who's already in therapy because he was already traumatized enough by losing 2 grandparents to COVID, including one at OLA, but we won't even talk about that. So, I see nothing. The schools didn't even know that we were closing until we called them in a panic saying, I need somewhere to put my kids. And to say that because we're a poor community, and Father Bill, you don't even believe in Catholic schools, parish schools, then you didn't want this to happen. So shame on you. I mean, I know I've put 4 questions out there, I think we do know this. But there's so much conflicting information. The school is falling apart, but we're still going to use it for RE. That makes no sense.
That's the funny part.
Yeah, like there's so many contradictions in your argument. I could go back to my freshman logic class and tear this thing apart. Okay. But, I mean, so what were the metrics? Why us over St. I'm going to be very specific. Why us over St. Joe's, the Lockport, that brought shame to the parish? Granted, we had the Pierce Point incident when we first started. We won't talk about that publicity. But if the building is in such dire shape, how are we going to use it for RE? And then what is the plan for the mental health of our kids who have been completely traumatized? I had to take my kid today to shadow at St. John's, and he is devastated. He has been at this school since he was 3 weeks old and his sister started kindergarten. I am a product of Immaculate Conception in Morris, Loyola, Morris, St. Francis, JCA. I mean, I'm a poster child for Catholic schools. And I am so disillusioned, and I am so disappointed that you're saying we're a poor parish. We don't have an option. Our public schools suck. No matter what this school may have been lacking, it was a heck of a lot better than our alternatives. So, I know that was a lot, so I'll let you address it.
All right, so let's start with metrics. Brian, you want to start?
So I think we mentioned some of the metrics earlier. There's kind of the things that start us to look for conversations. There's no red line, there's no watch list. We look at enrollment and enrollment trends, because the trends certainly make a difference in it. Talked about we look at what support the school can get from other sources other than tuition. Right? So, and then if those metrics start to fail, we look at what are the general ability for the parish to support at a greater percentage than what's normally considered healthy, and what's that parish's ability to continue to do that. So when you look and go, you know, when we met in October to talk about where things were looking, we saw a downward trend, well-defined, certainly happened because of COVID, started because of COVID, right? You did the rebound like everybody else did. Back in the first year of COVID, most places were down, I think it was about 7% was our enrollment across the diocese. Dominic was down more at 17%. Next year, last year, or I guess it's the year we're in now, other parishes came up about 4%. Dominic's rebounded better, came up about 7%, but lost all those gains during the year. So those moved on, and that happens. Illinois is having a flood of people coming on. You know, as we talk about this and go further, the face of Catholic education across the U.S. is changing and will continue to change. But so as we're looking at that and we're meeting in October, we're assuming, and it's never good to assume, right? Makes an ass out of you and me. But we assume that we could get a number close to that 165. We met with the parish, they said, because of PPP money, which the school got almost $400,000 of, which is what got you through the $230,000 loss the school had last year, which would have showed up in the financial statements that the parish puts out, including the $37,000 loss the year before, the $40,000 loss the year before that, the $57,000 loss before that. So the last time the school had a surplus, a balanced budget, was 2016 at 253 students. So we're going from 253 down to 140. So that was part, when we see that metric in mid-April, and Sister submitted her budget early. Most budgets haven't come in yet. Most don't come in until mid-June. When she submitted that, and then also at that point we were informed that she would not be returning next year, so we have a draw of leadership. Certainly not Sister's fault, but another metric that comes when we had 8 open principal spots and struggling to find good and qualified principals to fill those spots. That's another challenge. That alone is not it. It's as you're looking at all of those things, you know, while the parish does what it can, because it is a small parish, but it does work hard, it's devoted, and it's done a good job at subsidizing what was 250 kids would now be 140 kids. It does have to worry about the 1,000 families. Every family needs to be served by the parish. So you go, how does closing the parish fix the roof? That 140,000 that was going into the school subsidy can fix the roof where all the RE kids go, where our parish mission work goes on, where our food banks, our pads can now take place, because we have the space and we can reinvest what we are putting towards our families into the parish in whole and serve all 1,000 families.
But the problem is, Father builds it where it's God. I know where God is. I'm saying, where is the bishop? Because since 2020, he has done everything he could to keep Catholics out of the church. How do you expect to get money if you're keeping Catholics out of the church? 2016, if you remember, because I certainly remember, our weekly church donations dropped from 16,000 a week to 11,000 a week. Okay, I won't name names, but we know why that happened. And if you look into the archives, you'll know why that happened too. And our church has never recovered because you continually act duplicitously with us. We are not stupid. We love the church. We want our kids to be in Catholic school. And I'm also very tired of people implying that there's some sort of systemic classism going on. I went to Catholic school. I went to all of the schools I went to are closed. One was very poor, one was very rich. They're still closed. One of the reasons why we don't have sisters anymore. And why don't you have vocations? We don't have vocations because our children are not going to school and learning to love God and to serve other people. And we went through 2 years with our priests being so afraid that every time they got up and preached, you had to drop your jaw. What? Be not afraid from the person who's wearing a mask and using plastic gloves to hold the Eucharist? No. There needs to be a real cleanup. We all need to pray. This is right. This is a learning experience. We need to pray and we need to really go back to the roots of the Catholic Church.
church, which is Jesus Christ, the same today, yesterday, today. We don't need a synodal path because we aren't practicing. God has not changed. Jesus has not changed. And if you want more money from this parish, we have 3 beautiful priests that have just arrived here. Give them a chance. Give us a chance.
Hi, so I don't have a kid anymore in St. Dominic's, and I just came here for one reason and one reason only. I want to save this school. I have my 3 kids there. Please stand up. They all graduated from this fine institution. I was educated myself from kinder all throughout college to Catholic education. It is very important, and I'm sure you know that. And we've been debating, or we've been hearing all the reasons why this school must be closed, right? Why? So what I'm here for is, I want to know what can we do to keep it open. I think that's what we all want here. We don't want the excuses, right? And I understand all the numbers. I am a PTA. All those numbers make sense to me. They're factual. Now, and I think that's why we were asking, what's the magic number? How much do we need to raise so that we can keep this school open? Because we want to keep this open, right? We don't want this closed. So I think the only thing that we're asking for is let's work together. What can we do to save the school? And I think then we can all work together, and if we can't do it, then we can say, you know what, yeah, I think you're right, we really can't do it. But just give us a chance. See, when I heard about the news, I was devastated. I was like, I've been here for 16 years with those 3 kids. Sister Maria Isaac, and I've seen many other, all the teachers here, their family. I don't have to be here, but I'm telling you, this institution, you're making a big mistake if you're going to close this Catholic school that's been here in this community, serving this community for the past more than 50 years. It is a big mistake. Give us a chance. We'll work with you. If it's just money, I assure you we can raise it. We can. I assure you. Right now, we commit. Whatever it is, give us the number. And that's why we're asking for a number. Because we can raise it. Yes, the community, maybe you're looking at all those numbers, like economic numbers, right? Oh yeah, the median salary is low and all that shit, right? Sorry, excuse me for my language, but I'm really frustrated here. But there are many people here who can help, all right? And they're willing to help. I am willing to help. We are all willing to help. We will do everything. So please, all I'm asking is give us a chance, sit with us, let's come up with a plan. Enrollment numbers, there's got to be a strategy to get that higher. We can increase that, right? Give us a plan. Okay, we can do this. If we don't reach it, then yes, close. At least give us a chance. That's all we're asking. I think that's what we are. Then you listen to all the frustrations, right? Why? But I think the more important question is, what can we do now? The mistakes were, I think, the lack of transparency, lack of communication, all of those, that happened. That's in the past. We can't do anything about it. Maybe it's your mistake, maybe it's the administration's mistake. I don't know, and I think at this point it's not important anymore, right? We're talking about your decision. Let's reconsider your decision so we can keep this open.
So going back to what you were saying about if the parish, St. Dominic's Parish, because apparently St. Francis doesn't even count in this discussion, if St. Dominic's doesn't have to subsidize the school, then they have more money to put into the infrastructure of the buildings, right?
And the ministers.
Okay, so here's the thing. If I switch my kids to St. Scholastica, I have to switch parishes because it's a $3,000 tuition difference between the tuitioner rate and the non-parishioner rate for 2 kids. Which means, and you have to give a minimum of $20 per week to tithe or they change your tuition rate. I already give more than that to St. Dominic Parish every month. The parish office has been getting calls all week from parents who are switching to St. Scholastica to be able to afford tuition. All these people will no longer be giving their money to St. Dominic Church. So, have you looked at how much money the school families have been giving? Because how's it going to help St. Dominic Parish if some of their biggest contributors are all moving to another parish? I mean, it seems like the money is not going to add up right, and you're only hurting the parish worse. Not to mention the number of people who have put hours in fixing up stuff here from the school. That now the fathers are going to find other people to do that. So it doesn't make sense from a number standpoint. I mean, have you looked at those numbers as to how much the school families are contributing to the money? Because I kind of got an impression over the years, and I've been a member of this parish longer than a member of the school, that the school families were the bigger contributors to the parish than a lot of the other parishioners. So how can this be helping my parish if they're getting less money, losing all their young families, and losing more people? Do you have, and the other big question everyone's asking is if the bishop was blindsided. Our understanding is that the diocese was informed back in February that the sisters were not going to be sending a new principal. Advertising started in the church bulletins March 17th, I believe it was, or April 17th, for principals needed in the diocese. St. Dominic's was never on that list. Those ads have to go in at least usually a week in advance to be in the bulletin. So you all knew before those ads went out that this school needed a principal. So very clearly you all had made that decision not to try to find a principal for this school before you received the budget. Otherwise, in that so it's just, there's so many things with all this stuff you're telling us that doesn't add up. The implication that you followed some process in canon law to make this decision. I looked through canon law. I talked to a canon lawyer. There's nothing specifically in canon law that dictates what the process is for closing a Catholic school. I was told specifically by a canon lawyer that's decided by the USCCB or the bishop's conference of the local bishop's conference or the bishop's office itself. So to put in a letter that, well, we were just following canon law, this is what we had to do for canon law, that seems like a disingenuous cop-out. And that's why we're so angry, is because it just feels like someone said, we're not stupid. If we can find this research in 5 seconds, if all we have to do is look up our bulletins for the past month and see that we weren't listed as needing a principal before you got this budget, which wasn't even approved by our finance committee, it doesn't add up. We just want the truth. We just want the truth. Not politics.
The politicians.
I think most of the time everyone here is upset and angry. But part of it is St. Dominic's as a parish. Every time we get a new pastor, he is brand new pastor his first time. And so when we speak about the parish trying to support the diocese, we have always supported the new pastors you sent us. And they're not trained properly to run a school. So then when you put this place down for them not having the financial and expertise they need, it's because you send us brand new pastors. And that has been happening for the last 15 years, at least, if not longer. So how can you make this decision and leave the people out when you're sending us people to put in charge who just are not fully trained?
I have a question for you. As an educator, as a CCD, religious education, my question is, how much money we need to raise to keep this school open. As a community from St. Dominic and Bolingbrook, we are a community who like to work together and we like to fight together. I would like to hear numbers. If we can work together and raise the money you guys need, please let us know. We are here to support our kids and to support our school. Thank you.
Again, this is the really hard part about this, is that this decision is final. That this is not a point that we can reopen the school and find another way. I'm sorry?
No, you guys.
I'm sorry. I guess it would be to contact the bishop at this point, but then.
Well, you don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, you know, I don't really know. Let me try to find the answer for you because I don't know that answer.
That's why the bishop should have been.
Can you modify the letter that you sent us? The letter that you sent, it didn't have your opening speech that you were sorry about it and that you were not involved. All this was not part of the letter. It was more as a CYA after you saw the actions from the parents. That's what the letter seemed like. It didn't seem like it was whatever you said, that because one position is open, that's why you were not passing it, not communicating. Can you revise the letter at least and apologize in the letter?
So you're just looking for a written apology from me?
Written apology and the appeal process.
Okay, let me see what I can find for you.
When you work with the paper that's written on it. You know how to use a pencil? Or is it all the computer?
I'm sorry?
Why do you have to fund it? You said that she asked
The
for
appeal process.
So she asked for a written apology.
No, I said I need to find the information about the appeal process.
Okay. Shouldn't you know that? I'm guessing there's been no.
There really typically is not an appeal process after a bishop.
Then you obviously have not entertained the time to step into our school and know our families. You haven't. Have any of you stepped into school prior to now to even know the children?
No.
Have you come here and looked at their faces and told them to their faces their school is closing? Because I think they deserve that. I am a licensed psychologist, and if I'm correct, before you were in this position, you were also a school psychologist.
Correct.
I took an oath not to harm people, as I'm sure you did as well. But you did this to a community, you did this to children, where Jesus actually tells us to teach the children. How can you, in good faith, in the positions that you held, do that and not come and tell the children, I'm sorry? Why don't they deserve that as well?
That was up.
I'm sorry.
The news was delivered the day before my second grader first communion. Okay, it's her first time receiving the Holy Sacrament from Jesus. She was told her school, she was crying and throwing up the entire thing. That's what you brought up. Okay, and that's a simple apology does not take that away. My children are crying at it every single night. They're stressed out, they're anxious, their mental health is not the same.
And when you guys got us to go to St. Andrews and then Scholastica, what about buses? Are you guys gonna get a bus to take us to school there? Are you thinking about that? We just talked to you about how much they're asking us to pay at their parishes. Every single week we gotta spend $20. You guys are not talking about that. We need to give out the numbers.
If I can just stop you for a second. We had the questions that you all asked. We were ready to answer those questions, and we were listening to your concerns, and that's what we took first. So let me ask the question about busing. So we are exploring the options for busing. There's a couple of different options that we need to look at. Busing to St. Andrews is covered by the public school district, and so we're in the process of negotiating what that would be and what that looks like, and those pieces. In order to bus to St. Scholastica, we have to look at a different option, so we're in the process of contacting bus companies to determine what that would look like and the costs associated with that. So we're still working on that.
So that's cheaper than keeping St. Dominic School. What are you guys prepared to do about the emotional stress that you're putting on family? Are you guys going to pay for psychologists for every children in this school?
Let me ask you a question. Why don't you turn around and look at that mural? That's Jesus Christ with a child. Why don't you look at that? You people are so lost in this case. You gotta run for the governor of the state. You might be a little more corrupt than he is. Look at that picture. That's the man himself. You guys are nothing. You're dust.
I have a question regarding the funds, the scholarships that the school had. Are those going to be distributed to work or students are going to go? Because it's not fair that those funds were designated and people donated for the kids here, not for you guys to distribute somewhere else.
You're speaking about the tax credit scholarships, is that specifically what you're asking?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, the uncovered scholarships, okay. So those scholarships.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Stop it. It doesn't matter.
Those scholarships do not transfer with the student. That's part of the way the law is written, that when a donor makes a donation, it's designated to the school, so the funds go to the school. With the school announcement, the announcement that the school's closing, we have contacted the donors who designated to St. Dominic to have them redesignate to a different school. For the donations that were already given that funded scholarships, those have to stay within the region. St. Dominic is in Region 3, so those funds can only be redesignated to another Region 3 school. And of the nearby school options, St. Andrew is the only school in Region 3. So for new donations, so I know there was a matching gift campaign in the month of April for donations that hadn't been given yet. Those that were just pledged, those donations can be redirected to St. Scholastica, and we are approaching those donors to have that redirected. And unfortunately, that is not a diocesan program, that's a state program, so we have no control over that end of things. However, the donors that have made pledges, we are working with them and we are sharing the information with them about what schools to redesignate their donations to. Did some analysis today actually, and the majority of the students that were on St. Dominic's tax credit scholarship list are now on the St. Scholastica tax credit scholarship list. So having that data now, we're trying to again work with the donors to get them funded at St. Scholastica, and just continuing the efforts to raise funds for the program so that students can be funded at the other schools. I'm sorry, what? No, what happens is they are, when you change your designation for the school, it doesn't automatically go to the bottom. You kind of slide in with your first come, first served priority number. So in the instance of St. Scholastica, the family that was awarded scholarships here at St. Dominic, they're next in line. At St. Scholastica, their priority level was higher than some of the students already on the St. Scholastica list. So I was talking with the principal at St. Scholastica today, reviewing with her who would be next, what current St. Scholastica students, where they fall, and where the other St. Dominic students are. And I can tell you that the family that was awarded a scholarship, and again, I don't know if that family is here, I'd be happy to speak with you about that. They're next on the list at St. Scholastica. We are optimistic, but we can't guarantee because it's donor choice, where they're going to redirect their gift. But we're making every effort possible to encourage the donors to redesignate as appropriate, to fund as many of those scholarships as possible. We're also working with the principals at the other schools to just see what options are available, and actually I have a handout that I can pass out that has information not only on the tax credit program support, but also any Catholic Education Foundation scholarship. Those funds do move with the student, So whatever diocesan school if you were to stay at another diocesan school, those funds will transfer, and you just need to update your school preference in fax and in the portal, so they know what school to assign the funds to. In addition, I know the closed school grant is available through the diocese. But again, if you have specific questions, about the Empower or Catholic Education Foundation, I'm available. I can help you, walk you through that or help show you what to do to be able to take advantage of those funds.
Just to add to that, one of those students were awarded an Empower for this upcoming year, because of having to move, fall down on the list and aren't awarded it. We will work with the Catholic Education Foundation to make sure that along with the normal CEF scholarship, they'll get what they would have from Empower that year if we can't find Empower dollars to fund them for that school year. So if they're already here, awarded a scholarship, and get knocked down on the list because their priority is lower at one of the other schools where the money goes to, we'll have the CEF and work through them to make sure those students still get that full award they would have had or already have been given for this next year.
Let me see what community back in the school.
I think both of you over here, they call this building was not safe. How do you endanger the safety of our kids all these years without telling us? Like, we have a lawsuit basically, just how to be against we have our body.
No one has said the building by any means is condemned. It would be sitting in here if that was. We have one gym in the diocese that is condemned and locked down so nobody can walk into it. That's a school that did close 2 years ago, and that's part of the reason it's closed now. It's the needed repairs and maintenance. Because of the tight budget, because of 5 years of losses, we all who have homes, we understand you have to keep doing little things to windows, to roofs, to tiles. It's those kind of things. It's just neglect, not structural deficiencies. So no one's in danger coming in here. I think, I haven't been to the mobile units. I've heard from Sister that they are much past their useful life. There's some power issues in keeping this air conditioner, which I'm very thankful is working tonight, running because of power issues in the school. But those aren't issues that endanger anyone, but just need to be looked at and maintained.
So if you have a report, you didn't have a report. We heard from Father that the report went filed.
The file was in the parish and school, not the diocese. It was given to the pastor, who chose not to act upon it. Now when we do those reports, we make sure that we meet with the pastor and with their finance council to make sure the finance council receives that report, because all too often they end up sitting in file cabinets and not being acted upon. So that's a change that was put in about 3 years ago when we realized that they were ending up in the file cabinets.
can answer that. We recommended St. Andrew and St. Scholastica just from a distance standpoint. And St. Joan of Arc. I apologize. You're correct. It did come after. I am happy to answer questions about other schools that you're considering. You can email me, you can call me, I can talk to you about, if you have questions about other schools, to start the process, to start you thinking if you have not made a decision yet on if you are staying within the diocese, looking at another school in the diocese, not limited to those schools. I would be happy to share, information about those schools with you. It is not limited to those schools. Those are what we recommended just based on distance and proximity to St. Dominic. Oh, yes, okay, sorry. MROBB at diocesejoliet.org. M is in Mercy, ROBB at diocesejoliet.org. So that you can email me and I would be happy to talk through the options with other schools with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I've toured all 4 schools. I know how to spell And for me, diversity was very important to me. None of the schools had. I went to one school, and the look from the principal that I got made me and my son feel uncomfortable. It was as if I wasn't welcome there. It was very diverse, and that's important to me because I understand that now not a lot of African Americans put their school and put their kid in Catholic school, let alone private school. And when I went to this particular school, the principal, she couldn't stop staring at my son. He asked me, "Why is she looking at me like that?" We left the school, and I had to explain to him why she looked at us like that, as if we weren't welcome there. You're sending us to schools that are not diverse, that don't have a lot of African Americans, Mexicans, and you're sending us there. We stay in the center of Bolingbrook. I know people who've been here 30, 40 years and don't know that the school is here. I've talked to families and they don't know that the school is here. I feel that if we had more presentation of the school, there's a big sign up there. It says St. Dominic Church. It doesn't even mention the school. We have a poster that's posted onto the wall right here. It's not even outside on the street where people who drive by can know that the school is here. For me, going to these, all 4 of them, all the ones that you sent, I took my time and went to these schools by myself so that I wouldn't be in a group so I could know how it felt for me and my son to go to this school. And none of them made me feel comfortable. And I work in public schools, and I would not ever send my son to a public school in Bolingbrook. If I had to homeschool him, I will. But I felt at home here. I took him out of another private school because I didn't like it, because it wasn't diverse. And for you to just say, "Oh, I know how you feel," you don't. You don't. You especially don't know how I feel. Because there isn't a representation from me sitting up there now. So you can't say that you know how all of our parents feel because you don't know how I feel. You don't know how it feels to go to a school where you send us to get stared at by the principal, thinking, "Why are we there?" And my son has to get in the car and ask me, "Why was she staring at me like that?" You don't know that feeling, and it really hurts.
So I just want to look at you guys and say thank you for,
joining us in this fight because I feel like the people back here are not. They're not here for us. And what they've done to my son, who I chose to have here so that he could face this guy right here. I was part of the kids that went to the diocese on Friday, and he was up there and they would not let him in. So that being said, I wanted to say thank you to every parent. Iris, thank you for doing everything that you could to try to save this school, because this guy has just wasted our time for the 2 hours that we've been here. So, moving on to what you said, I praise you because what did I tell you? They're sending us to school where my kid is not represented. I'm sorry. We did the research. I pulled up St. Scholastica, St. Raphael, St. Joan of Arc. We have 2% Hispanic. And we decided to stay in Bolingbrook. Our schools suck. Like everybody has said, public schools are horrible in Bolingbrook. But we have stayed here because once you move out of Bolingbrook, you lose your diversity. My son is in class with African Americans, Filipinos. I mean, from every part of the world we have here, and we are represented. So I just want to say thank you to those persons that have tried taking my school. I mean, they didn't come here to try to work with us. I felt like we had a good plan. We asked you, give us the money, give us the number, what do you want? We could reach out to Sister Superior, send us a new principal, but you are not willing to work with us. You obviously just sat here and just wasted our time for the past 2 hours that we've been here. You guys are a joke, and your lack of leadership is a joke, and I can't believe that we have this in our diocese. And yes, I was one of the persons, I've been in this church for the past 12 years of my life, and it is the saddest thing to have to do, to leave my school and leave my church, because I'm so tired of you. After Friday, you guys are a joke, and I can't believe that you guys are in there. But moving on from here, I will work on how to get you guys out of office and how to get you guys, because I will not stop.
Why? Because I don't have like the Who's gonna take you to the school over there? You? You wanna come to driving to the school? Or you wanna figure out after you finish school? Yes? No, right? You don't care. You don't care. You don't care about my son. You say you don't care. That's everybody. I'm here and if you don't care, I'm worried about nothing. And we just wasting the time listening to those guys. Everybody, thank you. Bye. Sorry.
Do you believe in Jesus?
Of course I do.
Do you believe in God? Ask Him to guide you for this kids and for our community. Thank you. Is the decision-making person here? No, right?
Yeah, the decision's made. It's not.
The decision-making person is not here, right?
Decision-making for
The
what?
person that makes the decision to refer the decision is not here, right? So the bishop is not here, right? So this is just a waste of time. You guys are just doing lip service. I mean, I am dissecting the letter, so you're more than welcome to go because I am just drawing you out. So if the decision-making person is not here, do not waste our time. Do not waste our votes because at the end, you guys did not care for us. You have no intention to keep the school open, and you have no intention to work with us. That's shameful. I don't have the time to be wasting my saliva and my energy, but you will hear from me. I am not going down without a fight. Just watch it.
I think we gotta look
the other thing they have is like,